Working with color variables. In our design, we usually have a set palette of colors, and we want to make sure that everything in our design follows this palette. Now in my design here, you can see that I am using red, but some of the tones of red are a little bit off. So what I could do is I could now select all the different elements, use my color picker, and then jump in and pick the correct color. However, that would be quite tedious. At some point, I might also want to change this red here to another color. This is also why I don't call my colors by their name, so I don't call them orange, red, and blue. I give them semantic naming so I can always change them. So I call them primary for my brand colors, and I give them a number. This allows me enough space to, for example, add another tone between the 20 and the 50, and I have some neutrals. So here also I could add more tones of grade between the 30 and the 90. You can also name them anything else, for example, call to action or background. Just make sure that it's semantic. Now, in order to reuse these colors, let's set them up as variables which we can apply across our design and components. To open your variables, make sure that you click on the gray canvas area, and then on the right hand side you can see local variables. If you click on the icon, it will open a modal. To create a variable, click on Create Variable and then choose Color. Now I'm simply going to call this one 20. And now I can use my shortcut to create more. So I'm going to hold Shift and Enter, and I'm going to call this one 50. I'm going to hit Shift and Enter again, and I'm going to go for 80. You could also use the drop down here to create more variables. Now to add a value, simply click on this field here and then choose a color picker and pick your value from either the style sheet you set up or directly from your designs. So let's also create our neutrals. So I'm going to have another one with 90, and I'm going to use my shortcut again, and I'm going to go for 30, 10, and 0. And now I'm doing the same. I'm simply going to pick them from the style sheet that I already set up. If you hover over your variable, then on the right hand side you see the edit variable sign, and you can click on this little icon here, and then you can edit, add more information, and you can also scope it. Scoping means that it will only be available for certain fields. Great, so now we created our variables, so now let's apply them. So I could select any element and then via the fill menu, click on the styles icon. And this is still a little strange that we're using the styles icon to use variables. I would expect this to be changing in the future. For now, let's click on here to open our libraries, and here you find all the variables you set up. Notice that variables have a square and styles have a circle. We can click on this and this would apply the color variable. Now I could do this across all of my design, which again would be quite tedious. Remember, we want to work with components, and you can see that my design is set up in instances. So let's go back here, let's reset this fill, and let's jump to the components that I used to create this design. I placed the design next to my component so you can see this better. Usually you would have this on an own page or even an external file. So what we want to do now is we want to go through all our component and make sure that our variables are applied, because you can also see some of them, like for example, the hover state of my button isn't even visible in my design, yet still I want to give the information about the correct variable here. And let's just check, because here we can see that currently nothing is applied. Now, we could go through these components one by one. So I could select the background here, apply a variable, then I can select the text. But there's actually quite a nice way of doing this. So just select all of this, and then you can see here the selection colors. Now you can see here I even have an old style applied, and I want to use my variables. I also have a mix of colors applied, so you can see I have different tones of red. So I want to have all of this aligned with my variables. So what we're going to do is, for example, if we have an old style, then just detach this style. And now let's go bit by bit. So I'm going to go, this one is a white, and then I'm going to go and select a variable for each of those colors. And because I am using the selection, so this is the outline of my component set, I'm going to leave that one alone. And because I am using this selection, it's really going to get all the colors for me. And here we go, the last one, let's even out the red of our little bookmark. And now let's have a look at our design. So as I select any element in my design, you can see that the variable was applied. This is this little square you can see in the color as well as in the name. So as I run through here, even like down to the deepest nesting, you can see that everything is applied correctly. There might be some elements on my canvas here, for example, this text that is not a component. What you can do is you can also select this entire frame, and then you can see some which are left over, and we can also clean them up. If at some point you want to edit your variables, then simply click on the canvas background, open local variables, and change your variable value. Your entire design will follow.